And so we are really honored to have him here. He's an inspirational teacher, and as I said, a governance professional, a Christian thought leader, who is a fellow of the Chartered Institute, FCS rather, and he serves as the chief executive of the institute and a board member in a state corporation.
So when we talk about succession management or succession planning, what comes to mind? Meshach. When we talk about succession planning, what comes to mind? Planning ahead. And continuity. We go to Lucy.
Talks about generational transfer.
Yes, generational transfer. Thank you, James. Yes, generation. Isaac.
I think that captures it all. An organization can outlive the current membership.
This man here is very interesting. I knew him like 15 years ago, and he was just the same way. That time he was a lecturer at Strathmore University. So I don't know whether that announces your age. But good. So we are going to look at some of those things and read that question there and answer to your neighbor silently. Now I'll be asking what your neighbor has told you. The good thing is, if they give the wrong answer, it's not you, it's the neighbor. The first question there. Just the first one. This is maneno mengine. If you want to pass CS, you must learn to follow instructions. I can see some people who are going to get defer. John, what has your neighbor told you?
The vision will continue.
The vision will continue. Let me now personalize that to you. Now ask them, what would happen if you left that institution that you lead for suddenly 1 year you are not able to be there? What would happen to that department? What would happen to the institution? What would happen to the whatever that you are leading? Cynthia. You have neighbors there. Damas, what has she told you?
There will be a lot of problems.
There will be a lot of problems. Stephen? It will collapse. Daniel?
Be honest, it will collapse.
To be honest, actually he has even added, to be honest. Even though I was not honest on all the other things, but this one, to be honest. Mark, what would happen? Yes, and in reality, that is the nature of most of our institutions, because we don't plan beyond ourselves. We don't see ourselves, we don't see that institution beyond ourselves, including our professional firms for the professionals who are here. Statistics have it that most of the professionals firm, as soon as you retire or as soon as you exit, the firm just comes down. Isaac, that firm that you have been working on for the last 15 years, if you exited today, most likely it also exists with you, because we don't see the institution beyond ourselves, which is a tragedy. They ran very well in a relay, but wakati yeye alifikiwa akipatiwa hiyo, what is it called, the baton, instead of running the same direction they expected, he went in the opposite direction. Lakini anakimbia, but went in the opposite direction. So sometimes we find people who are like that, and sometimes that happens because we don't plan very well. In fact, I was reading today an article, and I think I have quoted there, that most of the churches in Kenya, the leadership succession is normally announced during the burial of the leader. That's when you know who is taking over, or after the burial. Before that, there is no idea, because we don't plan anything. And it's not just institutions, even ourselves. Ask your neighbor, do you have a will? Ati estuary. Kwani umepanga unakufa siku gani? Ama Mungu alikuwa amekwambia unaenda anakuita siku gani? So it goes even deeper. Ask them another question. Do you have a life insurance policy? Because to think about death in Africa is a taboo, abomination. So another interesting statistics in that article they were saying is that the Asian community in Kenya, because the article was about Kenya, the Asian community in Kenya, whenever the breadwinner dies, the family becomes richer. I can't remember by what percentage. Yeah, the family becomes richer because, of course, they are insured, all that. So out of those compensations, they become richer. The African community, as soon as you close your eyes, that is the beginning of trouble for your family. Because thinking about death is abomination. You know, there are sometimes when you hear another family, you are going to bury, you are going to mourn, unaona kama ndio hao ndio huwa wanakufa. There are people, sometimes you don't see it as if it can happen to you. So once you appreciate that death is reality, then you plan for it. Both you as a person, so you are not only talking about succession planning for your church and for your institution, but also succession planning for you as an individual. Hebu look at your neighbor. Muulize, mimi unaona nakaa kukufa kweli? So, when you hear, let's read Joshua 1 verse 1. Let's read what it says. After.
Moses, my servant, is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to cross the Jordan.
You know, it's very interesting. This statement is very interesting because God himself had even confessed that in the whole earth I have not had any person like Moses. He actually said, for anybody else, talking to Miriam and Aaron, her brother, in the whole world, whenever I'm talking to anybody else, I talk to them through dreams and visions. But for Moses, my servant, is not like that. I talk to him in person, just like a man talks to another. That is how close they are. Yet, God himself calls Moses, and amwambia, Moses, come to the mountain so that you may die. Wewe ungeambiwa ati kuja ukufe. Ati come to my mountain you die. Na Moses anajipeleka peke yake tu hivyo. Sijui kama mimi ningeenda. But then when you hear these announcements, what gets to mind? Now God is telling you so and so is dead. How do you feel? So Peter,
Confuses.
Yeah, confusion.
Where am I told? It means that a responsibility is being handed to me.
Yeah, yeah, feeling of the weight of responsibility. Cynthia. Haukuwa class. Chris.
Vanity, my time shall come.
Yes, vanity. So when you hear this news that Moses is dead, but the interesting thing is, the mission was not to stop there. God is not announcing that because Moses is dead, the journey to Canaan has come to an end. So in reality, what I want to drive, the only point I want to drive, that there is nothing that is going to stop whether you live or die. The mission must continue. Therefore, plan accordingly. That's how God had planned it from the beginning, that you are not eternal, but his mission is eternal. This thing keeps on misbehaving. So, sometimes as leaders, we think, even as a CEO, sometimes I would say, I don't want to go on leave because if I go on leave, things will go wrong. Kazi itaharibika. Ni kazi gani inaharibika? That institution was there even before you were born. This mission, and I'm not necessarily talking about your specific denomination, I'm talking about the body of Christ at large. Just imagine, even Jesus himself planned for his death. The body of Christ has been there even before you were born, and it will continue. The church will continue. I know last time when we were here last year, one of the statements I said is that the church does not belong to you. The church is the bride of Christ. You don't own the church. And I also reminded you, because a majority of you here are married, have time with your bride. This is the bride of Christ. And I also reminded you, if you are spending more time with somebody else's bride instead of your bride, what is that called? Huh? Infidelity. Yes, that is the truth. Spend more time with your bride. And I'm not telling you not to invest in the service of the body of Christ, but what I'm telling you is that actually your partner, your family is the first church. If you fail there, you have failed everywhere else. Don't come to preach to us, and yet your first church is not working. But also, I'm also reminding ourselves is that everybody, if God could do away with Moses, when you look at, I normally read the story of Moses, and it was like that mission could not have been, Moses was like bigger than life. When you read that story, you get an impression of somebody even who was challenging God. Anaambiwa na Mungu kitu amwambia hiyo sifanyi. God, that one I'm not doing. Naambiwa get out of them so that I may. That's Mungu, if you do that, even remove my name from the book of life. Hata huko kwako sitaki kuenda. Mimi na wewe tuachanie hapa. You try to tell God like that. This guy was like, he was bigger than life, but God, and by the way, if you want God to call you very fast, wewe katalia kwa hiyo kiti, because the gospel yes, because the gospel must move on, but also number two, It's not only you who have to move it on. So kama umekatalia kwa hiyo kiti, the easiest way God will deal with you is to call you home so that he can raise a Joshua. Sababu umezeekea hapa, umekatalia hiyo kiti. So kama unataka kukaa so I will not go through this, but you are going to this is what I was explaining about Moses. Now, a few things, lessons from this. During your free time, you read the story of Moses. But a few things, what I learned from Moses. One, he did mentorship. Ask your neighbor, who are you mentoring? Do they have an idea? But also number two is the issue of exposure. Some of you are saying, I'm planning for succession planning, yet you are the one doing everything. So you never give other people opportunities to experience. Give them exposure, give them an opportunity for experience. And don't think that they can't do it as good as you are doing. Who told you what you are doing is good? Si niwe tu unajiona. Have you ever seen that kapicha huyu inaonyeshanwa pusi anajiangalia kwa kioo akaona nini kule? Simba. Maybe it's only your standards you think you are doing very well. But by the way, the church members, when you start preaching, they start dozing. Lakini wewe unafikiria the way ile message inaingia. Ama wengine wanaona wakicheka unafikiria ni point imegia, kumbe ni wewe wanachekelea. So you know, sometimes it happens that way, especially when you forget to brush. Alafu kuna kasukuma wiki kako hapa. Naona tu watu wanacheka, nazifikia ni point imegia, kumbe ni kasukuma wanaona. So give people opportunity to experience. There are things that cannot be taught in class, like riding a bicycle. Ati nikufunze hapa na nikwambia una balance hivi, alafu unafanya mguu hivi. You must sit on a bicycle, uaguke mara ya kwanza, ya pili mpaka uzoe. So give them an opportunity to fail. Even though hata ukimpatia nafasi ya hubiri hausikii kitu, mupatie. Akifanya mara ya kwanza na ya pili, kwani wewe ulizaliwa kama unajua kuhubiri ama kuongoza? Number 3 thing I learned from Moses was the public affirmation. And you see that through and through the story of Moses, the way he was affirming Joshua and through his mission. And also ensure that there is continuity, seamless continuity. So a few lessons to learn from that is that leadership is transitional, but mission is eternal. I think that point we have emphasized well enough. Number 2, let's read number 2 together. Tell your neighbor you are a steward, not an owner. Kwa hivyo wacha kusema kanisa yangu. Wewe hauna kanisa, you are just a steward. In one of the many of these church forums we've held, in one of them, I think we are at Intercontinental. That time we are doing the governance framework guidelines for churches. And one of the church leaders rose their hands and said, you know, young man, you are telling about these guidelines and setting up a board. I have labored for this church. I even sold my property. I sacrificed. And now these people are telling me to bring on board as a board. Where were they when I was struggling?
From grass.
This is my sweat and my blood and tears. These guys were nowhere. Now that the church is flourishing, you are telling me to bring them on board. I'm reminding you that leadership is not ownership. It is, that is good, you are able to do all that work, but you are still not the owner. Number Two is just to remind you that stewards make themselves unnecessary by raising others. As a good leader, ensure that you can easily, the institution can go without you, can survive without you. If 1 month, 1 year, 2 years after you leave, the institution you start struggling, then the problem is you, because you never put in place. The problem is not the person who comes after you. The problem is you have not put proper mechanism. Number 3, can you read number 3? Number 4. Then turn to your neighbor, ask them that question. Demand an answer from them. I'll be picking the answer shortly. Wagashi, who is your Joshua? What has your neighbor told you?
I think it depends, because the nature of establishments are just
yes.
it has not got leadership now. That's why you just and because you feel like it's not big enough for us. And also, yeah, and some people now I'm sure they have something to consult, depending on the market.
Okay.
What if you have someone in your mind whom you want to mentor, and he or she is in the inner circle, but he or she is not even interested? You're showing this is the way to do this, the way to lead a meeting, this is the way to take minutes, but they are not interested. But you can see they have the potential, but they're not there. What should we do?
Isaac, najua tulisoma na tukusoma naye lakini soma mbele yangu. A very good question there. There's somebody in mind, you want to mentor them to be your Joshua, but they are not interested. What do you do?
It is a difficult question, especially even now in light of the Gen Z and whatever. The new generation might not have the same aspirations we have. I think the only solution is from the point of onboarding, looking for people who share your vision. That might mean not your relatives or your children, not your friends, but someone from outside who will share that vision. Because at times the people whom we want to, I'm grooming my child or my cousin or whoever or my friend, they are not interested. So maybe to cast the nets a bit wider and get the right person who will take up the position.
Yeah, so, and interestingly, even Moses himself never mentored his son to take over from him. And yet in that society, as you know, from the biblical perspective, most of them, actually it was hereditary. So I think that is a good response. Maybe you just need to widen your scope and you find a good Joshua. They may not necessarily even be people you are related with. Maybe they even be outside your church. Just maybe, I was looking at one of the churches around, and I saw they got a bishop from a different church. Those are interesting dynamics.
I'm taking like a church scenario.
Yes.
Maybe you are the church secretary or you are the church chairlady. You want to mentor them to be also chairs, you even step down for them, but they are not willing. In such a case,
widen the scope.
We get the credit from another church.
Within that church, it can't be just one person.
Yeah, I think I understand what she's talking about. But in that case, for example,
there are some of the things we begin to do early, like delegation, so that if it's, for example, ladies meeting, you're not the one who's all doing everything, so you can begin this thing early. So I'm seeing this issue of mentorship, it has to start early. So that you can be able to work with people and a pool of them, so that at least you are not limited. And you cannot begin, for example, delegation of duties, so that they can see how easy it is. Because some of them refuse because they see, these are challenging tasks. I can't do what the charity does. I can't do what the LP does. So I think you can begin that preparation earlier.
Some also leadership, because they think you must be holier than thou there. So teaching early, so that they understand leadership does not necessarily mean you don't see, you don't do these things. I mean, we are all work in progress.
That's true. And yes.
Then to embrace multi-skilling, what you do, like whenever you are out on a let's say on any function, try to give different people assignments. Like for instance, if you go and leave this time, try to leave X person to be in charge. Next time when you go for a training, put again another Y person to be. So at the end of it, in one way or another, you'll be molding not more than one person.
And that's a very good point. Again, when we are talking about Joshua, don't just focus on one. In fact, that is what now sometimes bring the conflicts. Because you have the rest start thinking, CEO is molding so and so to become the next CEO. So you have those fights. Or even that person you are molding, pia naweza kukutoa. So mentor a number of them that should you leave, there is adequate pool of resources. And the governance structures and policies will be able to identify the right talent from the multitude that you have mentored. Yes.
I agree with the point. One just to add on that was, in our culture today, we need to actually sell the vision so we get buy-in. Because the challenge you mentioned, majority of us just walk in to do the job, finish and leave. But on the next level, I think the other challenge is on the mentorship. When we're saying mentorship, some even don't know how to go about it. Like writing notes, watch me and do it, and that's it. So I think the step-by-step procedure whereby you watch me as I do it, then I give you the tasks as you shared, I watch you as you do it, correct the mistakes, then we do it together, then I can hand it over to you. So I think the best way to actually go ahead and bring that to cut across is being able to have a clear path to mentorship, but also as an organization, have a culture that embraces mentorship, so that at all levels, you're mentoring people so that you can lead out of the organization to stay back. That's just one thing on that.
Yeah, that's very important. By the way, interestingly, there is one position I don't like from a governance perspective. The position called deputy. And when you look interestingly, even in the Bible, Jesus Christ, did he have a deputy? We know there are three who are in his inner circle. So any of them would have taken over. Now when you have a deputy, it's a very risky position. Because there are a number of things. One, there is an expectation from the deputy that they will be the automatic. But also number two, they are also looking forward to you exiting so that they occupy. And sometimes it cannot go very bad. So what happens when, for whatever reason, maybe the decision-making organ decides actually the person to take over is not the deputy. Most of the time what happens, they just split the group. The deputy goes with one group, and the new leader goes with another. So ensure you don't have, oh, she has left. Oh, okay. Ensure you don't have that kind of situation where you have, when I have been involved in developing governance documents, any that have ever been involved, the first position I normally scrap off is the position of deputy. I tell them, you don't require this. If you are to have deputy, have a number of them. You have deputy bishop in charge of this, deputy bishop, all of them at the same level. Look at how institutions work. Even as a CEO where I work, I have 3 we call them directors. They are heads, they are the same level, same salary, same what, same level. So any of them, if I was to exit, they can come in. When I'm away, any of them can act as the, but when you have one person, and this is your principal assistant, what happens at the national politics will also happen to you. And I know that is not new to me.
If you are three, don't you, as a human being, prefer one?
So that is the temptation you have to keep on avoiding. I know at the back of your mind, generally you have your preferences.
Yeah.
Don't show it very openly because, yes.
Thank you.
In my church, I have 21 Sunday school teachers that are under me, and we normally hold programs every holiday. And in every holiday, out of the 21, I have 5 that I delegate that they become in charge for every week. As I'm speaking right away, we are finishing our program today. I've been here the whole week, and one is in charge. Tomorrow we're having a Father's Day, another one is in charge. On Sunday, we're having a program which we call Teenagers and Youth Rally. And I have the 4 in charge of various groups. So, okay, in my mind, I know like there are 3 that can be in charge of the whole ministry. But to the eyes of everybody, I delegate, so everybody is like at the same level. So, and that way, I've managed to have peace.
Thank you. Thank you. This is an interesting discussion. How many remember this? Kwani nyinyi ni wazee aje? Let's read that statement together.
Leadership is not about programs past, but about the mountains past well.
Next one.
What would happen to your church, your institution, or your vision?
Uliza neighbor yako, nipatie jibu. And I want it now. Michael, what is your neighbor telling you? Huh? Let's make progress. So, when you talk about succession planning, can you read what the definition there? It is not. Yes, it's something that you do continuously. I think somebody has mentioned there. Today, you tell them to read the meeting. Tomorrow, you tell them to do this and this. Tomorrow, go represent me in this. So it's something that it's not a curriculum, it's not a training. That today we are having a training on succession planning. Tuwaite pamoja wabie, today I'm training you on succession planning. Yes, while that may be important because you are just sensitizing them, but as soon as you are appointed, start thinking about your exit. The first day you get appointed, start thinking about your exit. So that is the day you start looking for Joshuas that you are going to walk with. Oh, this photo. This photo is to make you happy. It had another lesson, but because of time, I'll not go into that. Succession matters. I want just to mention this. Let's read this last statement.
What you keep, what you leave.
Yes, so ask your neighbor, what are you leaving behind? Unfortunately, some of us, our institutions will go with us. That is the most unfortunate thing. You should plan in such a way that when you leave, because you will surely leave. Yes, ukweli tu wa mambo. Kama vile tu uko na uhakika ya kuwa leo jua itatua na hiyo ingine ni kufanya nini? To set and to rise. The same way you are 100% sure that you will, because even before you there was somebody else and they also left. And living, we are not just talking about death. There are so many other circumstances that can cause you to live. You can also decide to change church. Daniel alisema you must be in that church forever. And by the way, pastors who are here, stop threatening washirika. Hata ukitoka huku, the curse will be on you. Hiyo ni uongo. Shidwe. Who said that your church is where God resides only? Because even you, most likely you are not in that church initially. You also came. Does it mean that where you were, you are serving the devil? Because some of us are in that bad habit. When some of your shirika tell you, Pastor, now I think God is leading me, you even start cursing them. Can we read the last sentence here? But that one I have asked you. I will not ask you again. Just a recap. We've talked about Moses. And we've talked about the mentorship. During your free time, go and read all those verses that are provided there. But most importantly, the next lesson is what I want us to read, to consider. The issue of Elisha. Si utuambie tucheke. What is it? Huh? Oh, that's a dog. So, unacheka tu kidogo. Ha! Alafu tunaendelea. Elisha and Elijah. When you think of Elijah and Elisha, and that is the point that I'm trying to drive, by you handing over, that does not mean that the work will fall. In fact, Jesus said, unless the grain of wheat falls and dies. So you need to die. Tell your neighbor you need to die. Maybe the reason why your ministry is not expanding is because you are still alive. Can you die? And by death, I'm not necessarily meaning that you die physically. Sometimes it's just stepping back and let others lead. Once you do that, you actually multiply. But if the grain remains intact, it's saying, me, I don't want to, you see how beautiful I am. You know, there are some seeds which are very beautiful. Like which seed? Huh? Give me a seed. Beans. Beans are beautiful. Yes, there are those beans which are actually flowery. Have you seen them? Yes. And sometimes I remember when I was young, nilikuwa naona mamangu akienda kupanda hivyo na the way they are beautiful, anaenda kuzifunika kwa mchanga. But unfortunately, that is the only way to multiply them. So maybe you've been praying and fasting, asking God, why is this ministry not growing? The problem is you need to step back. What about Jesus? And I'm saying, if Jesus, Son of God, planned succession, who are you? You know, by the way, literally, he could have just lived. him as God, he had the ability to say, siendi pahali, niko hapa, hapa. Anahubiri kila pahali, hata leo tungekutana naye pale akihubiri. Like now kuna football pale Kasarani. Aenda huko ahubiri. But he decided that 3 years is enough. Let me. And by the way, do you know also another very interesting fact? Very effective leaders don't live long. By the way, unajua hivyo. Even from the Bible. How many years was Jesus' ministry? So most likely why you need more years is because you are ineffective. You just require, don't think longevity is not equivalent to productivity. That you require more time for you to be impactful. I'm in the public sector and I can tell you sometimes people don't want to leave. Even the positions of the CEO, wanataka kucheza na some contracts hapo wa change, waseme 3 terms, wengine wasema 1 term. No, wanataka 3 term. Because they believe that there is something else I would have done. If you have not done that thing within the time provided, even if we give you 100 years, you will still not do. Kwa hivyo time yako ikifika soga. Now this one I'm just reminding you be a good example because this guy is saying no smoking. So you know, and by the way, this one
don't ask people not to be corrupt. Yet
you had seen it somewhere, so nilikata hiyo sababu sitaki siasa. I got it was circulating on social media. It was saying somebody else that I don't know who it was. I was telling some MPs they are corrupt. And then somebody was asking, and what are you? Hiyo ni siasa and we are not involved in politics. We choose to forgive you. But do you know, by the way, these issues we are talking about governance and leadership, they are all in the Bible. Sometimes when we are developing that governance guidelines for churches, one of the church leaders told us, nyinyi mnaleta mambo ya dunia kwa kanisa. In reality, is the world which has, you see what Jesus said, that sons of darkness are wiser than the sons of light. They actually come, take those principles from the Bible, go implement them very successfully, but us, who are the owners of that word, don't apply it. So we preach this word, but for us, we just want to maintain it at a very philosophical angle without necessarily applying. Put that in your constitution. What is the role of the emeritus, the retired pastors, those that are retired, what is their role? And they will be very helpful to you as the body of Christ. But also, as you do that, think also of their social security. Most of you here, how many here have registered for NSSF? NSSF, may I see? Properly by a show of hand. Chukua mkono kabisa. NSSF. Hata wengine wanauliza hiyo ni nini? Office, I used to get a salary or a tithe. I used to get some offerings. What will happen to me? So that you manage that in advance. Ensure now that you are there, you are young. Ensure you put those policies in place. You know, by the way, that's what I tell church leaders. Some of your members think that you eat their money. Unajua hivyo wakikuona naona hata ukinunua kagari wanasema hiyo ni pasta tu ni kukula. Ukitoa katubo kidogo kama hii yangu wanasema hiyo ni pesa yetu imejaa kwa tubo. But the reason they accuse you of that is because of something we call, you are not transparent, you are opaque. The process is not transparent. We don't know how much we get as a church, because if members knew that the whole month you have only raised 100,000 in a whole month, kwani hiyo sasa 100,000 nini iko hapo ya kukuliwa? Ni kidogo sana even to run the normal operations of the church. You have to go back to your pocket to fund some of the operations. But because you are not transparent, we therefore make an assumption where tu kazi yako ni kukula. Mimi nikitoa mashirigi na unajua is only in church where we give coins. Even in supermarket we don't go with coins. Isipokuwa ile mkebe ya donation naweka pale kwa supermarket. It's only in church people give coins. Now, mimi nikitoa mashirigi yako haba haijafika 100 and then I'll have the biggest mouth to make a noise about how the pastor is eating my money. But the reason why you are being accused of that is because you are also not transparent. You are not telling us how much we have collected, how it was used. So we get a notion we have contributed a lot and all of it has been eaten by the... But I'm making this point to drive the point that part of that disclosure, let it be clear how much is pastor's salary. Wacha tujue, salaries are not a secret. My staff members know how much I earn, so that they also look forward to becoming CEO wa kama mimi. So there is nothing secret about salary. Let it be clear, this is how much we pay our pastors. And within that salary, let there be a package, insurance, NSSF, if the resources are available, provide there for life insurance, for retirement package and all that. Start building that kitty gradually. Pension and gratuity. Unajua vitu kama hizo? Pension and gratuity. Those are very important so that when time eventually comes for exit, the reason why you want to tell us that I'm still feeling the call. It's not the call you are feeling. It's the offering you are feeling. To disassociate the call from the offering, make the relevant provisions early enough. Build kitty for pension. It's not a must pesa yote ukipata muende mufanye crusades. And crusades are very important. Look about sustainability. I think especially the Pentecostal church, one of the areas we have gone terribly wrong is the subject of sustainability. We don't think about sustainability. Just to remind you that when you are called for dowry, it's refusing to play. Don't give a pig as the dowry price. It can misbehave. I want us to look at the second. If you look at that topic, it had two issues. One, succession management, and two, founders syndrome. So we want to address those four issues on the founders syndrome, and these are related matters. Can we read the first point?
It becomes fragile. When it's built around a mission, it becomes.
Number two.
Relay baton. Baton is a mission.
Number three.
Founders are the mission. Pain, passion, dedication, and sacrifice. The goal is not to shame, but to shepherd the transition from prosperity to power.
So what I'm saying, as I look at this founder syndrome, I'm not looking at it and decide to shame the founders. There is nothing in a way to be ashamed as being the founder. It's something to be proud of. Instead, we want to look at how do we help the founders to support the governance and the growth of the institution. Last.
Yes, same vision, pain, passion, dedication, sacrifice. If not in control, not in direction, and let you
You know, those projects, even at personal level, those projects you call petty projects, you have so much passion about them that they blur you from thinking about the risks that are next to them. You are so passionate, you are so attached. Nobody, even if we told you that this one is, no, you don't want to listen because you are so passionate about that. That sometimes is what happens with the founders. You are so passionate that you are the one who has been the leader of this ministry. You have invested a lot of prayers, you have invested a lot of your time in it. You have invested so much so that anyone who tries to critique, anyone who tries to bring any other idea, you feel they are attacking you. They are not only trying to improve on, they are not only attacking the project, you think is a personal attack. When we say the praise and worship team, this Sunday, ni kama haikuwa na upako, una feel that is a personal attack because of the passion that you have for that. Let's read that one, the first point there.
And perceives succession as a threat, often unintentionally, resulting in organization of fragility.
Some leaders you have had people like that, even politicians say, mimi hata sikuwa nataka kusimama, but people are demanding that so when you hear yourself saying like that people are saying, I have not served enough. They don't want to let me go. Now what is crippling in you is what we call the founders syndrome. And you just want to justify using, saying that people are saying. It's the people who are demanding. It's not me. It's the people who are demanding. So, when you have this, where you have a board, because that's how it starts, you even have a board in your church, but even that board cannot hold the leader to account. The only thing the board can do is to advise, and as I said, advice can either be taken or yes. You don't set up a board just for purposes of advising you. You set up a board for purposes of holding you accountable. And therefore the board has the authority to tell you, stop. They have authority over you. But when you find it's the other way around, now that is what you are describing as founders syndrome. It is where you are feeling there is general, human beings generally don't like letting it go. You feel attached to something. In fact, even in this training, I'm sure some of the sessions, you are having them and you are feeling, siyo iendelee. But you don't know how the next one will be. The other one maybe will even be better than that one. But human beings, usually by nature, they don't like letting go. So sometimes, by the way, it's also the fault of the congregation. And now the leader is also not wise enough to know when to exit the stage. And you keep on saying, the people. Where in the Bible do we find that statement? It is the people who demanded. Yes. Yeah, both Harun and Saul. Harun is asked, why did you do such an evil thing? Making an idol? God. Then his argument is the people who demanded. But you are the leader. They are not the leader. Between the followers and the leader, who leads who? Between the sheep and the shepherd, who leads who? Because now you are behaving like the sheep. The same argument for Saul. When called to account, he is saying, you know the people. So you can never give an excuse that the people demanded. You are the leader.
You are a very good teacher. Did you notice that? Yes. Absolutely. You are a very good teacher. I would love to be in your classes. Yeah, you keep our attention a lot. You make lots of funny jokes, you know, and we love that. So if you retire from FCS, from ICS, come over to Daystar or start your own school, you know, the two, so that you can do that.